Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Peace be upon you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Oussama Mezoui. I am the co founder and CEO here at Penny Appeal USA. And I'm joined today with
Talha Ahmed, not a fancy title like yours, CEO of Penny Appeal Canada.
Talha. Good to see you.
Likewise, how are you?
Good, alhamdulillah, very well. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this evening. Welcome. This is really exciting for us. It's the first, we hope, of a series of internal conversations aimed at demystifying the nonprofit sector for volunteers, for donors, for those potentially looking for a career in the nonprofit world. We'll be having these conversations once a month on the last Thursday of every month across the border with our colleagues in Canada, talking informally in an unplanned way about a whole range of topics and issues that we often deal with as CEOs of a non-profit organization. You'll be hearing not just from us as CEOs in the next few months, but you'll be hearing from our departmental heads, our team members working on programs, marketing, fundraising, communications, operations. And hopefully, if you follow the series on the last Thursday of every month, inshallah, God willing, you'll be able to learn a lot more about the work we do, how we do it, why we do it, and also an opportunity for you to ask questions. So please do ask questions, and every month we'll do our best to answer them. So this month it's myself and Talha across the border in Canada. So Talha, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. Let's get straight into it, Talha. Let's start with the beginning. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got into non-profit work. How did you get into the sector? What's your story?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, I didn't find this sector. I think the sector found me. For myself, I went through a personal crisis in 2013 where my older brother passed away. And when he did, I saw firsthand nothing that we worked for in this life we take with us. And that was a real eye opener for me. Just to do a lot more sadaqah, uh, give back to charity as much as possible. So this sector found me. I used to do a lot of volunteer work here and there. Um, had an experience in the program side in the charity space as well, coming up with different programs and kind of executing it at a volunteer level. But I think 2013 was really the eye opener for me, and I really started to study the space and see how others are running charity, how do they operate charity, and why do people donate to specific charities. And I didn't sort of those learnings kind of brought me to Penny Appeal Canada. But I think you have a much more compelling story as to how you got into this space.
No, I'm not sure if that's true. I think, the fact that, may Allah have mercy on your brother, I mean, that's as compelling as you can get. For me, Talha, it was um, again unplanned. I didn't go to school for nonprofit management. I have an undergraduate degree in history. I then went to law school and graduated with a law degree. And through fate, met an individual who became a mentor of mine and really opened up the space for me and gave me an opportunity. And this was, 13 years ago or so. And the rest is history. I started off as almost an assistant of a CEO, being his right hand man and kind of helping him with everything from strategy to making his tea, and it was exposed to all different facets of non-profit management. And so um, you know fell in love straight away. It became a calling, it became a mission and a lifestyle, and we're very, very privileged to do it. And so for me, again, it was unplanned. And after law school, I knew very quickly that the practice of law was not something for me in particular, for me personally, that excited me or that I felt energized or motivated by it. And again, I was very lucky, and alhamdulillah, to meet someone who really taught me the ropes and gave me an opportunity in this sector. What were you doing before nonprofit work?
I was in the for-profit space, so I used to work in the financial industry, in the project management space. So I used to manage the HR portfolio for a Fortune 500 company. Uh, primarily focused in the Asian market. So Southeast Asia was really my portfolio that I used to manage, but it was more, business processes, technology upgrades, and things like that. So I went to school and had my undergrad degree in computer science. So that was really, you know, when I graduated, I went into the for-profit world. Great space to be in when you're young, have the drive. I think as you get older, you learn a lot, right? And the best part is, and for those watching, everything that you learn, whether it's in school or your first job, second job, third job, these are all transferable skills, right? The not-for-profit space is not a silo space. A lot of the skills that I learned, I was able to transfer it over here and really build a team that allows us to succeed.
On that point, Talha, I get a lot of younger individuals ask me all the time, oh, what should I study to get into the nonprofit sector? And what's I always say is, well, first study what you enjoy, and B, well, whatever you study, we need that in a nonprofit organization. If you're an accountant, we need accountants. If you're a project manager, we need project managers. If you're a creative, a designer, a filmmaker, well, we need those as well. If you're a bookkeeper, if you're a copywriter, if you're an operations manager, an HR expert, whatever field you should, you want to follow and pursue, you should do it. And then, of course, you want to apply it for a nonprofit or in a nonprofit setting. But sometimes folks think that there is a specific course or pathway into the nonprofit world, and of course there isn't, as is your experience and my experience. And the reality is that the experience of most nonprofit executives that I've met, we come into this sector through different paths. And so for those who are listening, who are thinking of how they can come into the sector, well, first and foremost, get those transferable skills under your belt. Stick to what you're doing, whether it's accounting, management, HR, graphic design, whatever it may be. Do well, become as good as you can be, and then apply your skills in a non-profit setting. And so there's lots and lots of pathways and entryways for
Yeah.
sure.
There's one thing that you touched on earlier that was very important, and you said this is a lifestyle, right? And I think that's really the differential factor between the for-profit space and the not-for-profit space, is that this is really a lifestyle, right? Like, you are on the clock 24/7. You go to sleep at 11 p.m., midnight, whenever disaster strikes somewhere in the world, different time zone, different continent, right? You will get pinged. You will get a
Mm.
message from your team members, or the big global family that we have as Penny Appeal, that there's a disaster has struck in some part of the world and we need to respond. So this is really a lifestyle, and I'm glad you touched on that point earlier, because that's something that I personally feel is the big differential factor between the two spaces.
Right. And I'll say, if you do this work, for those who are interested in working in the nonprofit space, you have to be cause-led or mission-led, mission-driven. This, as Talha said, is really not a 9 to 5 job. It can be, and some, and if that's what you're looking for, that's okay, it can be. But for those who are looking to thrive and to grow, this is a mission-led profession and vocation. And so especially when you're an INGO, an international non-government organization like ours, a global nonprofit working globally all over the world, for those seeking management positions, executive leadership positions, for those really seeking to grow in their careers, of course, it is a mission, it's a cause, and it's far more than a job. And so that means evenings, it means weekends. It really means focusing ultimately on the beneficiaries. And so that's connected to a question I had for you, Talha, which, what motivates you? What drives you? I mean, you could make more money, I assume, doing something else outside of the nonprofit world. You worked for a global corporate company before, for a corporation. What motivates you? What drives you at Penny Pool USA to continue through those long days, through challenges, through obstacles?
I think for me personally, like, and I'm sure it's similar to many that are thinking about this space, is that we're very blessed to live in a developed first world country like US or Canada. We take water for granted. We take electricity for granted. We take road infrastructure for granted, right? But when you see those that we help in developing countries, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in Africa, um, wherever in the world, right? In the Middle East, you realize that the things that we complain about on a day-to-day basis is nothing compared to what they live through, and they would do anything to be in yours and my position, right? Live in a first world country, developed country, healthcare, education, easy access to food, easy access to clean water, et cetera, et cetera. So I think for me, the driving force has really been we can't complain about the way we live, right?
Yeah,
It's human nature to complain, right? We'll complain about frivolous things, but at the end of the day, what are we complaining about? We've got a
absolutely.
roof over our head. We've got clothes on ourselves. We've got food on the table, right? We're able to drink water, clean water. And when you see pictures, when you see images, when you see videos of those that are walking kilometers or miles just to get a bucket of water, like, for me, that's really been the driving force. Is that
Yeah.
like, we need to live in a world where everyone is equal, and that's not going to happen overnight. It's it hasn't happened for decades. It won't happen for decades. But whatever
Mm.
legacy we could leave behind to just turn the needle, turn the dial a little bit to a more just, more equal world. I think for me, that's really been the driving force.
Absolutely. You know
Um,
what's great about our work too in the kind of humanitarian space, Talha, is our work is very tangible. There are folks who commit their entire lives or
yeah,
careers to a cause that they will never see the fruits of. Whereas actually with us, the fruits are very tangible. We support children, women, and families in need. We see, we're providing food, we build schools, we provide healthcare access, we provide healthcare equipment and medicine in the field after a conflict. We've refurbished homes in Lebanon recently, for example, and you go to the field and you see very quickly the tangible impact, positive impact that you know the work that our donors make possible becomes reality. And I think that always keeps me going. It's very tangible, and you see the impacts. Let me ask you, Talha, what is the kind of genesis or the beginning of Penny Peel in Canada? What's the story of Penny Peel Canada? When did you launch, and what's the story?
so I think before I answer that, obviously the U.S. office has been around longer. So I'm gonna ask you a two-part question. What does the name Penny Appeal mean? And then second, the genesis and the birth of Penny Appeal USA, because that really parachutes into why the Canadian office opened up. So
Yeah, so of course, Penny Appeal as an organization began in the United Kingdom. We have a partner organization, Penny Appeal in the UK. They launched 11 years or so ago. Um, and I know at the time that a few of us in the US were thinking of launching a nonprofit organization. Based on our years of experience in the sector collectively, there were many things that we were looking to change, having worked for many years in especially Muslim-led or diaspora-led organizations. There were many things that we wanted to achieve and do. At the same time that we were thinking that and kind of having those conversations, Penny Appeal UK was looking to grow their global brand and to grow their global presence, and so coincided at the same time. And so we made a deal with Penny Appeal UK. We have a user license agreement to use the brand Penny Appeal. They helped us launch, gave us seed funding for a number of years to help us get off the ground and build out this organization here in the US. So that was back in 2016. We launched in July of 2016. And so this year, 2021, we are celebrating our 5-year anniversary. The idea of Penny Appeal is the idea that everybody can make an impact, right? You don't need to be a millionaire. You don't need to be giving $25,000 checks in order to be making an impact on the lives of those who are impoverished. Everybody, anybody can make an impact. So whether you donate $5 a week, $10 a month, $100 a month, $5 a month, whatever amount you're giving, or $100,000, your pennies, Talha, may be different to my pennies,
yeah,
or Jeff Bezos's pennies may be different to
yeah,
somebody else's. But the idea is that how can we all commit a few pennies each month to helping those in need? And so that's the idea of the name. That through these pennies together, through collective action, we can make a big impact on the world.
Yeah, and similar to the story of Penny Appeal USA, right? Mashallah, we saw the success that the US office has had over the last 5 years. So, the founder, the CEO of Penny Appeal wanted to now open up a Canadian chapter, a Canadian office. So, same agreement that the US has. We have end user license agreement to use the name, to use the logo, to use the branding, and open up an office here in Canada. So we opened up our doors in March of 2019. So we're approaching 3 years in a couple of months. Quite new in the Canadian space, but mashallah, the brand of Penny Appeal through our offices in the UK, Australia, South Africa, and United Arab Emirates, and obviously the US, has really helped us to become a household name in the Canadian space. So for us, the rationale, besides obviously opening up an office here, was to really change the way people think of charity and the way people uh, communicate with charity. So transparency is a big pillar of our organization. We post we post a report every quarter, obviously our annual report, and then we post our numbers after major campaigns like Ramadan and like Qurbani. So you can go on either of our websites, right? I believe US has it as well. So you can go on either
Yeah.
of our websites and learn more about the different campaigns. But I have a very important question for you.
Just before you do, Talha, sorry,
Yeah,
just before, if you just hold fire on that one. So just to
yeah,
say, for those in the US, they can go to pausa.org/reports. You mentioned transparency. That's really, really important to us. Not only do we obviously make it very easy to see our audited annual reports, our financials, our annual reports, as well as our 990 filing, which is an American tax filing that we do every year for the IRS. We make it very easy, but we've also gone a step beyond that, Talha, where we're actually producing quarterly reports. We felt that it wasn't enough for donors to only receive an annual report, that donors should be able to know what we're doing on a quarterly basis. And so now folks can go online, pausa.org/reports, and they can actually see a quarterly update. What do we get up to between January to March, June to August, etc., etc. I'm glad you've mentioned that. It's very important to us that people feel that they know exactly where their money is going. And so we publish financials not just annually, but on a quarterly basis, so folks can see that.
yeah, and it's important. And what we learned from the U.S. office when we started ours, the frequency of the reports that are being posted, and it was it was a game changer in this space, right? So for us, similar to the US, you can go on our website, pennyappeal.ca/reports, and you'll see our quarterly reports, our audited financial reports as well, and then major campaign reports, Ramadan and Qurbani Udia reports. So this is really one of the big differential factors for Penny Appeal, I feel, in the charity space.
Great. And sorry, I had to plug my laptop when this is live, and so I forgot to plug it in earlier.
So I have a question for you, Osama, and a question I'm sure you get asked all the time, um, and it's about admin fees and commission, right? So I know Penny Appeal has certain programs that they don't take admin fees for. So the question for you, Osama, is do you guys actually take 0% admin or commission on emergency responses, Qurbani, Zakat, and other funds, or do you take admin fee, which in my opinion is healthy for an organization, for an INGO to take admin fees?
Mm. Great question. So we should clarify, Talha, first and foremost, the relationship between all the Penny Appeal offices, because the
Yeah,
answer depends on the office. So first and foremost, it's important to say that Penny Appeal is a global brand. We are a global family. Talha mentioned earlier there is an office in the UK, there's an affiliate in Australia, South Africa, and we are a growing global entity. We are all independent in our respective territories. So in Canada, the Canadian entities, and a Canadian, the Penny Pool Canada is a Canadian entity. In the United States, Penny Pool USA is a 501c3 independent American nonprofit. Australia, they have their registration as well, etc., etc. So I think that's really important. That means that while we collaborate, we work closely together, we share resources, we share infrastructure at times, we pool our funds together where we can to make a bigger impact on programs. It also means that there are variances and differences. You'll see slight differences between the Canada office and the USA office, between the USA office and the Canada and the Australia office, for example, etc., etc. So some policies will apply to some affiliate offices and not to others. And so I think it's important that we caveat the conversation, by saying that as an introduction. On the issue of admin, it's the $1 billion question, really. And I think it's the most misunderstood aspect of what we do as nonprofits. So let's break it down a little bit in the time that we have. Admin costs are important. They are not a necessary evil, as some people may describe them. They're not something that we should be avoiding. This is not, everything I'm about to say is not Oussama Mezoui's opinion. This is based on the opinion of some of the biggest, largest organizations and institutions that study nonprofit management, umbrella groups, charity watchdogs, etc., and nonprofit regulators. The administrative fee that nonprofits take enables them to serve their mission. Ultimately, all nonprofits, why do we exist? We exist to serve a mission. For some, it's climate change. For others, it's animal welfare. For us as an organization, Penny Pill, we are fighting the injustice of poverty. In order for us to serve our mission, in order for us to help people in their hour of need, we need an organization that is healthy, that is sustainable, that is robust. And to do that, we need to pay people. We need to pay professionals. We need to pay experts. We have bills and utilities that we need to pay. This laptop that we're using today, Talha, this live streaming that we're using, this software, all of this costs money. And so admin empowers us to do the work that we do. It's not negative. It's not pejorative. And by spending on our infrastructure, we are ultimately able to provide a better program. We can have better programs, more robust, more sustainable programs by experts that serve our beneficiaries in a sustainable way. That means we need to study where the need is. Once we know where the need is, we have to study the impact of our work, short-term impact, long-term impact. All of this requires investment. That investment in overhead, whether it's flights, whether it's laptops, whether it's staff, whether it's an office space, all of that is covered through our overheads, what's known as overhead. Okay, so when you think of nonprofit finances, break it down into three pools. Well, in the American context, of course, there are three pools. There's fundraising costs, every dollar you spend to generate more money, right? If we have an event, we spend $20,000 on an event, that's a fundraising cost. Obviously, we hope to raise at least $100,000, $120,000, $130,000 on the back of that event. That's a fundraising investment. Second is program cost. How much is directly going into programs? And the third category is general management, which is also known as operations or admin. Okay. We in the US, we take admin. Okay. We collect all these funds and we take a percentage of admin to invest, which is why we've been able to grow. We grew from an organization that was non-existent in 2015 to an organization today that is at around $10 million revenue. And we've been able to help over 1 million individuals. The reason we've grown, the reason we've been able to build out this organization and our programs is because we've invested in the right staff, in the right technology, in the right mechanisms, in infrastructure. That costs money. Like I said, in the early years, we got that money from the UK and they invested in us in seed funding. But now we are, of course, taking administrative costs because it enables us and empowers us to do this really important work. So we take a percentage on all of our income. Now, there's two types of income in the US, and I believe this applies to Canada and elsewhere. There's restricted donations and unrestricted donations. And why am I saying this? We take our admin costs from unrestricted donations. And so when a donor chooses to restrict their donation, for example, to a country, Pakistan or Palestine, we have to spend the money in that country. That's a restricted cost, both legally and ethically. If a donor tells us, I want this money to build a school, that money has to go towards the building of a school. That's a restricted fund. Again, both ethically and legally, we spend 100% of that money on the program. Now, we also, of course, receive unrestricted funds where donors are giving us money because they believe in our mission, they believe in the cause, and they trust us to spend the money where it's most needed. Okay, that's some of the money. We take some of that percentage of that money and we invest it in overhead, we invest it in infrastructure and general management costs. Now, that cost changes every year. It depends on the life cycle of an organization. What do I mean? A startup organization has startup costs that a more established organization doesn't have. An organization, as you know, Talha, that is 50 years old or 100 years old will take a different percentage than an organization that is 5, 10, or 15 years old. An organization that is funded by the public is different to an organization that is funded by institutions and grants and philanthropy, right? So it's sometimes comparing apples to oranges. It doesn't make sense when we try and say, I'm going to judge A organization and B organization simply on the admin that they have. It doesn't make sense. So the admin cost has changed every year. Last year, Penny Pill USA, we took 78% of every dollar and we spent it directly on programs. 78% roughly of every dollar went directly to programs. The rest of that money, not all of it was spent, but the percent, some of it was saved, of course, and the other amount was spent in infrastructure, in overhead, in staffing, in fundraising, and other essential activities. When I say saved, I mean, again, think sustainability. When COVID came, lots of nonprofit organizations were impacted because their revenue went down, their donations went down. It's important to have assets. It's important to have cash for a rainy day so that our mission is not disturbed, right? Imagine an organization that takes $100 and spends $100. What happens when the $100 stops coming? Is that organization able to sustain itself? No, because it's kind of going hand to mouth. So we don't have that much time. I've already said a lot. What we'll do is post a link to an article, Talha, that I've written on your question, and it does a far better job of breaking down the issue of admin, overhead. Why is it important? So we don't take commission. We're not a for-profit organization. No one gets paid commission. We don't take commission, but we do take a percentage and spend it in overhead because we're trying to create sustainable programs. And to have sustainable programs, you need a sustainable organization that can survive the highs and the lows, right? And so competent infrastructure, the right technology, all of that costs money. And so, there's been years where we've taken 22%. There's been years where we've taken 24%. In the early years, we took zero because we had institutional funding, right? So that changes every year. And that's why accountability, Talha, is really important. We show this to our donors. They can study the 990. They can study the audited accounts. They can study our reports. So that's a very long-winded way of answering your question, Talha.
No, it's important, right? This is a big question that people have, and like you said, when people look at one charity versus another, they look at how much admin are they charging. I think, and this is probably not the best example, but how we can compare this in our day-to-day life is if you buy a new property, a condo, right? You're paying your mortgage, you're paying your property tax, but the one thing that's fluid for the first couple of years is your maintenance fee, right? If you have a swimming pool, if you have a gym, if you have different amenities, right? The first couple of years, the the um, the amenities does not sorry the maintenance fee doesn't have a set fee, right? That's always fluctuating. They're trying to figure out what is that right amount that we need to charge. So similar to a startup organization, depending on where you are in the life cycle of the organization, you charge that respective amount. So like yours 990, we have one in Canada called the T3010. which is what we file to the CRA, the Canadian Revenue Agency, available on our website as well as the government website. So I know you're going to share that link, that article that talks about overhead and admin, and I think I've read it. It's an important read, and I encourage everyone that's watching this to do your research and read that article, because it's really well written, and it explains this in a lot more detail.
What I'll say to donors too is that if you go on a website and you struggle to find an organization's tax returns, that should raise a red flag. You should be, through 2 or 3 clicks, able to access an organization's financials, audited returns, audited accounts, audited accounts, tax returns, annual reports. All of that should be a maximum of 2 or 3 clicks away. So if an organization is making you dig deep and go through 15 tabs and get a binoculars out to find their financials, then that should raise a flag. And the 990 doesn't just show you overhead, it shows you an organization's cash revenue and their non-cash revenue. It shows you how much salary the executives like myself are making. It shows you a lot more about an organization. And so we encourage folks, donors, supporters, volunteers, to read these documents and ask us questions, because we absolutely encourage this kind of engagement and interaction, but it's important that as a community we have these open, honest conversations if we are to improve the sector on the whole. And so I think it's really, really important discussion and topic.
So you obviously you mentioned about investment, right? Admin fee coming in to take that money and invest it back into the organization, which is leads me to my next question. How do you evaluate staff that will be good employees at a charity like Penny Appeal, right? We all have job postings. We all get hundreds of applicants, but how do you pick who's the best person?
That's very specific. Are you trying to get HR advice from me, Talha?
Free HR advice on this call. Yeah.
Look, that's a tough question. Always, whether you run a business or a non-profit, finding the right people for the right organization at the right time is a challenge, right? Sometimes you find the right people, it might be the wrong time for you as an organization. Sometimes, depending, again, we keep on saying about the life cycle, right? One individual who works fantastically well for a startup may not be able to work for a $300 million organization that has 300 staff. Vice versa, someone who leads a team of 40 people at a $400 million nonprofit may struggle to work for a nonprofit organization that is a startup and has a team of 6. So, finding the right team is almost kind of not a science, it's an art, and it's challenging at times because it's the right people at the right time with the right skill set, and so it's definitely a challenge. Both of us have been blessed to have phenomenal team members. You do not become successful, you don't grow without having amazing staff and team members. I refer to myself as a co-founder because I see every single one of our team members at the beginning, those who are with us in the early year or two, as co-founders, because they deserve that title. And so there's no way that one person is able to claim a title of a founder. It takes a team, it takes a village. And so, we have amazing folks who worked in marketing and website, in development, in fundraising and programs, who got us to where we are today. And so, I think first and foremost, you look for someone who's mission-led, who's not focusing on the money, on the salary, which is not easy. But there are folks out there who are cause-driven, who are mission-led, and I think that is non-negotiable when you're looking for team members. And so those folks looking to get into the sector, you have to be driven not by money or titles. You have to be driven by the mission, by the cause, and that shows in how you behave. When you get a call at 8 p.m., how you react to that evening call, it shows whether you are somebody who's cause-led or mission-led. When you have to, excuse me, when you have to work weekends, that shows. So I think that's first and foremost. The other thing is flexibility. Anyone who's worked for a non-profit will tell you, you've got to do many things. You wear many hats, and so you have to be flexible. Talha, I'm going to let you take this one. I'm struggling with cough.
No, that's fine. I think so uh, like you said, as a startup organization, as an organization that's so early in its stages, 5 years for USA, approaching 3 years for Canada, I still feel we're in our early stages. Like, it's important to be open-minded and understand that you're going to play many different roles, and it's actually a good thing because you get to see different areas of the organization, one you might like, one you thought that you didn't like, but you end up liking, right? So it's important to do that. Weekends are important. Evenings are important. Uh, it comes back to what we talked about early on in this conversation. Sector, this space is a lifestyle. It can be a 9 to 5, but how you grow, how you succeed, it ends up becoming it overtakes your life in a good way.
I will say that how we don't want folks thinking that there's no life work life
Yeah, yeah.
balance.
Of course, there's like work-life
I
balance
mean,
here. Yeah,
that's really important, right? Looking after yourself, mental health is really important, and knowing when to switch off, taking opportunities during quiet periods to recuperate. You know, after our peak season, which is Ramadan, we took a week off. We gave the team an entire week off and said, take this time, recuperate, re-energize, spend time with your family. I think that's really, really important.
yeah,
The point is that it's not a scheduled job of 9 to 5, that there are evenings, there are weekends. And so if you're coming into this sector and you want to thrive in this sector, you've got to be okay with that. You've got to be okay with working at midnight. Yes, you may take a few hours off in the morning. That's completely okay. You may take random days off in the week. But that flexibility is really important with your time and also with your skill set. We all wear different hats, like I said, and so job descriptions, I feel, in the non-profit world can be a lot broader, a lot wider than maybe in the for-profit world, where there's more resources. Look, we're trying to tackle massive missions here, sizable missions on a very small budget. So we're overworked and under-resourced. That's a reality. And so
yeah.
we're coming into this sector with any other with false pretense, then I think that can be dangerous. Most nonprofits are overworked and under resourced, and so that is a reality. Now, it's also very, very rewarding, and it pays in ways that for me the nonprofit world did not pay, and so it's challenging but rewarding at the same time. And so to summarize on this point, whatever skill you have, whether it's HR, accounting, volunteer management, project management, we need your skills in this sector. And specifically, I'll say this to those who are watching from the Muslim community. There are many, many Muslim organizations doing amazing work, not just in the relief and development space, but in civil rights, in healthcare, in a long, wide array of issues. These organizations were often set up by first generation immigrants who did a phenomenal job of establishing these institutions. Some of these are mosques, social service organizations. We need a new generation to step up and take leadership of these organizations, right? And so we do want to encourage folks to see this as a career, and to see a long-term future in the nonprofit world. And part of these conversations, these informal conversations we'll be having on the last Thursday of every month, is to kind of, like I said, demystify the nonprofit sector, encourage people to ask questions, get engaged. It's a rewarding career, in many, many ways. And we need leadership when it comes to diaspora-led organizations or faith-based organizations. We as we think about the next 20, 30, 40 years, who are the individuals that are going to be leading these entities? It's really, really important that we encourage our viewers to seriously think about a career in this space.
Yeah, and for those that are still uncertain if this is a space that they want to get into, you can join Team Orange, which is our volunteer-led arm at Penny Appeal, both USA, Canada, and other offices. And it's an opportunity to come and see firsthand the work that we're doing, the missions that we're tackling, like Oussama said, in our own domestic backyard, right? So whether it's in US, whether it's in Canada, um, the work that we're doing here is not very different to the work that we're doing overseas. Obviously, different issues overseas compared to what we're tackling here, but the planning, the research, the prep work, and the beneficiaries that we're helping, and then just constant communication with them, very similar, whether wherever you are in that part of the world. So for those that are in Canada, you can go on our website, pennyappeal.ca/jobs, for careers, for openings at Penny Appeal Canada, and then or you can go to pennyappeal.ca/Team Orange to join our volunteer arm. And Osama, if you want to share the link for the US.
Yeah, I think there'll be some websites running
Website. Okay,
right now,
perfect.
and so the same applies. We're looking not we have a few positions open, so go on our website pausa.org/careers. We have a few vacancies that we're filling, but also we do look for interns, summer interns, winter interns. So
Yeah.
if you have a skill set, you may be in college right now, or you're thinking of a career change, whether you're a graphic designer, a filmmaker, a HR person, an office manager. If you have a skill set and you're trying to think about transitioning into this space, get in touch with us. Email us info@pausa.org, or Talha, info@
Penny Appeal, pennyappeal.ca.
pennyappeal.ca or
Yeah.
pausa.org, info@pausa.org, and get in touch. Say, I'm thinking of doing a summer internship, a winter internship. And it's also a great way to benefit others, to learn yourself. I think, Talha, we've got a few minutes left. Let's talk about the work itself. Ultimately, we exist to serve beneficiaries. We're having these conversations, but ultimately, why do we exist? Well, that's because there are people struggling right now with wars and conflict and natural disasters and socio-economic inequality. And that's why we exist, is to serve those folks in need. Right now, what are a few of the campaigns that are live that you are running in Canada right now?
Yeah. So right now, and it's end of August, August 26th, today, when we're having this conversation, our active campaigns are obviously the ongoing issues that we see for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. So we've got an ongoing campaign to support those over there. We're rebuilding homes, rebuilding community infrastructure, whether it's schools, whether it's hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. Um, Unfortunately, the situation in Afghanistan has become a global crisis overnight, right? Like 20 years of work, and we won't go into the details and get into a side conversation about it, but 20 years of hard work to rebuild that country has now gone to waste. So this has become a massive, massive, probably one of the most important, one of the biggest global crises that we've seen in our time. So we've got an
Mm.
active campaign in Afghanistan as well.
Let me ask you a
India,
bit about that. I know
yeah.
we've got a partner on the ground, and Penny Peel is on the ground through partners in Afghanistan. Talk to us. What are we doing? What services are we providing on the ground?
So right now we're providing food emergency kits and shelter emergency kits as well. So those that have displaced, those that have left their homes, trying to make their way to the international airport to get a means out of the country, and now feel unsafe to return home. So there are refugee centers that have been built within the country itself. So our partners are on the ground providing support, providing aid to those individuals that don't feel for it to be safe for them to return home. Inshallah, things get better for them and they are able to. But right
Yeah.
now they're not. So we're providing support to those individuals.
One of the challenges, Talha, again, part of the reason we want to have these conversations is to just folks to see some of the challenges that we face. So one of the worries right now is what happens to the banking system, because non-profits, obviously, we send money officially through banks. We're transferring funds to our partners on the ground, um, and we've been able to do that for many, many years now. What happens should banks be closed or the banking system be closed? And this is to do with international politics and the decision of international bodies, not just local parties in Afghanistan, but globally. What happens if the banking system collapses or is shut down? How do we get money in legally through a transparent way? So that there's lots of concern now about what the future holds. And of course, time will tell. It's too soon to predict anything. But the reality is that, for those who are watching and you want to help, we are on the ground. We're working with community organizations, local organizations in Afghanistan, and they are providing emergency shelter and food packs to families in need, IDPs, internally displaced people, on the ground. So if you want to help, what website should they visit, Talha?
pennyappeal.ca. As soon as you land on our page, you'll see both campaigns that I talked about, and then the pausa.org.
Right.
And again, the individuals will land and see the different emergencies that we're responding to
Right.
at this time.
We're also responding to Haiti. Obviously,
Okay.
a large catastrophic earthquake hit Haiti last week. over 1,000 or 2,000 people have lost their lives right now, and Haiti already was really suffering, one of the poorest nations in the world. So we have partners in Haiti, um, and that's why some folks may see our emails talking about our global emergency response fund. We often ask for money to the global emergency response fund so that we're able to respond quickly to a crisis when it hits, instead of us having to wait to raise money before we can respond to Afghanistan or Haiti or these crises. We actually have a fund ready, available to go, so that we can make pre-commitments and so that we're able to respond very quickly. So those who are interested, of course, can visit the website underneath, either the Canadian website or the US website, and donate to the emergency response fund, if you're interested in helping people in really their hour of need. um, let's talk a little bit about development. So when it comes to emergency response or humanitarian assistance and aid, there's Haiti, there's Afghanistan, there's Palestine, there's Lebanon. Of course, we've done a lot of work in Lebanon. I mean, it's again tragic what's happening on the ground inside Lebanon. They've run out of energy now. They're of fuel. It's power shortage, power outage, really, collapse of the currency, unemployment, no access to medication. It's really a very, very
Yeah.
bleak picture in Lebanon. And we've been very active now for the last 18 months on the ground. And we're going to continue to helping both the Lebanese, but also refugee communities within Lebanon. And everyone is suffering really in a way that we've not seen before. So we've got Lebanon, Haiti, Afghanistan, Palestine, for those interested in humanitarian response. What about some more long-term development, ongoing projects, Talha?
Yeah, so we've done an investment in water filtration plants in Pakistan, in South Africa, and different countries in the continent of Africa as well. So really, what we're doing is we're building um, clean water access to the community at large, and these water filtration plants are really a one-stop shop for people in the community to come to get access to water. But these are filtered water, so they don't even have to take it and then filter it themselves. It's provided to them, similar to how you and I would get tap water. So it's a big development program that we're doing, and I believe you guys have a, a development program in the food space as well, right?
Yeah, so we have a number of programs for those interested in more long-term sustainable development work. One is obviously thirst relief. We have solar powered water centers or plants um, in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Pakistan. So those interested in providing access to clean water can check out our thirst relief page on our website. um, we also have income generation. It's all about uh, helping families, communities earn a sustainable income so that they're not relying on handouts. And so we do that through different means. We have a livestock program, so we're gifting families with pregnant goats so that they're able to build a herd, get milk, no longer have to pay milk in the market. And there are many other benefits that our viewers can check out on our website. We have agriculture programs. We have vegetable gardens. We have planting of trees in Palestine. We have a range of programs which are aimed at sustainably helping people out of poverty. Talha, I've really enjoyed this first conversation.
Yeah, likewise, and I'm glad we were able to put this together. Like you said, the last Thursday of each month, we'll have this informal conversation between both offices. So different department heads will be on these calls, so you could get to learn about programs, marketing, finance, HR, operations, and then individuals like Oussama, who I learn from every time I speak with.
Too kind, too kind. Likewise, and there's a lot to discuss, and so we hope over time we do justice to many, many topics. And of course, for those watching, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments section. We will get back to you. We'll answer your questions in due course. Check out our respective websites. And finally, I'll say, if you believe in the mission, if you believe in the organization, the best way you can help, and often I get this question, what is the best way that I can help? The best way that you can help is to donate a monthly amount every month on a reoccurring donation. That sustainable giving enables executives like myself, like Talha and others, to do our financial planning. If we know how much money we have coming in on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis, we're better able to project our expenditure and to do long-term multi-year programs in the field. ultimately, the more we're able to plan, the better the quality of our programs. And so, for those interested, and if you support our mission, if you really believe in the work that we're doing, sign up. Whether it's $10 a month, $30 a month, $100 a month, or $10,000 a month. Like we said at the beginning, everyone has different notion. It's all relative of what pennies are. But whatever you could do, $1 a day, 30 cents a day, whatever you can do, that's really the best way you can help an organization that you believe in. That's the best way that you can help a cause that you believe in, is by giving a regular monthly donation to either Pennypool Canada. For those of you who are Canadian, you'll get your tax receipts. Is that correct, Talha?
That's correct.
And the same, if you're in the United States, we'll issue a tax receipt. For those of you on this side of the border, we encourage you to visit our website, respective websites, inshallah, and make a monthly donation. So, Talha, thank you for your time. Good to see you. Thank you to our viewers. Tune in every Thursday, every last Thursday of the month, and join our informal conversations across the border. So, assalamu alaikum. Thank you and take care.
Take care, everyone.